the local organizations, and thirdly, to implement projects leveraging technology solutions to create positive social impact. So we have two types of site groups, roughly. So a university site group could be led by a faculty, driven by the students, and needs to be sponsored by IEEE student branches. And professional site groups could be affiliated with societies, regions, sections, and other councils. So far, we have 94 site groups in 34 countries and 5 technical societies. And this is the progress that has happened since 2012. And the most important part of this workshop is really to understand few key expectations that we have from the site groups. To be specific, there are 4 key expectations. And in the later part of this workshop, what we'll do is we'll break out into 4 parallel groups of people, and we will discuss more in depth into how to meet each of these expectations. So the first expectation is a project. Feet on the ground project is an important expectation from every site. This is unlike other chapters and other local sections, for example, of IEEE. This is a key expectation. The second expectation is education of our own volunteers with respect to sustainable development. And then we'll see what aspects of this education need to be covered, and then what resources we have to undergo this education requirement. The third expectation is site group capacity building. We'll see in depth what does capacity building mean, and what capacities as a site group we have to build so that we be effective in the local communities. The fourth expectation is that we do assessment of the work that we engage in, and then we submit an annual report. So very quickly, what does a site project mean? Now, a project in the context of sustainable development, leveraging technology, can be formulated in different ways, but as part of site, here is what we mean by site projects and what we don't mean by site projects. So firstly, technology deployment in an underserved community. This is an important flavor of a project. Humanitarian technology development, that's an important flavor of a site project. And finally, technology-related policy project, where there is local activism and advocacy to influence a policy change in the local governance or municipalities, for example. So these are the 3 types of projects that we encourage sites to engage in. And all of these projects that our site groups do, there are some key important elements there. The first element is that any site project has to be aligned with one of the 3 types that I mentioned: technology deployment, development, and policy. Secondly, it must benefit an underserved group. So I want to clarify that it doesn't have to be a developing country or a developing community. There are a lot of problems in the developed world too. So the philosophy is about local people coming together and solving local community problems. This is different from let's say an organization such as EWB, where sometimes people kind of travel to different countries or different contexts, and then they deploy technology solutions. We are about local people coming together, partnering with local organizations and solving local problems. So next, we have to leverage. The projects have to have a technology component, and we need to leverage key IEEE's core competencies. However, they could be in any thematic area. It could be water, it could be sanitation, it could be ICT, energy, or it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever is relevant for the local community. And the most important element is that we have to focus on the sustainability of these projects, both operationally and financially. And in one of the breakout sessions, we will discuss how do we go about achieving sustainability in our projects, both operationally and financially. We will see some of the examples that our site groups have, how our site groups have accomplished sustainability in their efforts. So these are not the site projects immediate response to a disaster. That is not really what sites are encouraged to do. Secondly, projects that are solely aimed at educational outcomes. So such as TISP, for example. These are not side projects. These could be part of the capacity building efforts. This could be part of building the partnership with, let's say, an academic institution in the local context and so forth. But these cannot be used to meet the project requirement of a particular site group. The next bullet point is the charity and donations. Charity and donations is not what a site group is expected to do. We seek sustainable solutions leveraging technology. So we have a project funding as a resource for our site groups. Between $500 to $20,000 is the range in which site groups can apply for project funding. And we have 3 project funding cycles each year. Once, if you go to the site website, you will see more about the deadlines, and then you will learn about what are the key aspects of the project proposal and so forth. So the second expectation is what we call as education expectation, or the humanitarian training and professional development to specifically define. So we've identified 5 key areas of professional development for our volunteers. Firstly, our volunteers have to have an overview of the sustainable development. Secondly, the engineering and sustainable development combination. Human-centered and community-based solutions. Social impact project management and social impact assessment. So these are some of the key skills that our community should have. And we have a few resources to make sure that we get access to development of these skills. Now, why do we need this? Why do we have this expectation? Because we strongly believe in do no harm policy. So as you will see in some of the case studies, interventions sometimes end up doing harm to the community than helping the community. So there are a lot of unintended consequences that emerge, let's say, because of not having a full understanding of the local context. So it is really important that we undergo some sort of structured training to meet this educational requirement. So to this end, we are working with the Engineering for Change. It's a coalition, it's an association started by IEEE, ASME, and Engineers Without Borders. And there's a foundation education course in development called Engineering for Global Development 101. And this would be a requirement for our volunteers to really go through, and then it really does a good job at reinforcing the 5 key skills or the areas that we need development. And in one of the breakout sessions, we will discuss more on how do we make sure that our community gets to meet the education requirement. So a quick example, there was this cool idea which was implemented in Mozambique, where the idea is, why not club, the project name was merry-go-round water pump. So the idea was, let's have merry-go-round integrated with the water pump, so that when children play, as a byproduct, water is pumped, and then women get to fill their drinking water and go back home. So this was a cool idea. How many people think that this was a really good idea? Raise your hands. Wow, there are a lot of people who think this is a good idea. So it sounds cool, but it turns out that it's a really horrible idea, and then it ended up doing more harm to the community than helping them. Firstly, what it means that is that whenever women want to pump water, there have to be children playing the merry-go-round, or else they will, or at least they have to go and play the merry-go-round. I mean and the timings at which children play and the timings at which women go to fill the water, for instance, they never intersect. So it turned out that they have to unnecessarily go the merry-go-round to fill the water. Secondly, after these pumps were installed, it was learned that to fully saturate the capacity of the water pumps and to fill the water at the highest capacity of those pumps, 27 hours per day, one had to do the merry-go-round. So and really, several hundreds of thousands of dollars were invested in this effort, and it turned out doing harm to the community than helping them. So like many of us, it sounds a really cool idea, but then we have to give deep thought to see whether it really works. So that's why education requirement is in place. So third expectation is capacity building. Now, building capacity might mean different things to a particular group. In a sense, it's really to develop those resources that are required for a group to function well, to function effectively. It could mean human capacity, volunteer recruitment. It could mean partnerships that one group needs to establish with the local organizations in order to be successful. So it also slightly varies with the different site group and what the site group is interested in doing. But really, capacity building is a key requirement. And it's not only about recruiting more volunteers. It's not only about establishing more partnerships. It's also about sharing the best practices with the broader community, and make sure that we don't reinvent the wheel. We learn from each other and so forth. So why do we need this? Because all problems that we deal with have multiple stakeholders. We need partnership with the community. We need commitment to being sustainable outcomes, and this requires that we work with the community and so forth. So really, it's about developing the resources that help us do whatever we do more effectively. So we have a conference participation support program, and some of you are the recipients of this program. We support our volunteers. We fund them to go to conferences, share their knowledge, network, and learn from the conference. So the last expectation from a site group is what we call an assessment and annual report. It's really important that the site group defines the outcomes. There's a subtle difference between outputs and outcomes. In one of our breakout sessions, we'll discuss deep dive into what does it mean to assess our impact at the local level. But then it's really important that we define our outcomes, and then at the end of the year, go about measuring them both quantitatively, qualitatively, and then reporting back to the site steering committee. So this is an important expectation. And how many of you have seen the site toolkit? Oh, not many people. Okay, so this is a great resource for it has great pointers to examples on how self-assessment, how impact assessment is done. For example, what are some of the case studies of projects? What are some things that have not worked, and so forth. So we really encourage people to take a look at site toolkit. So this will be accessible from the site website. All right. So last, portion of my presentation. This is for the new folks and the prospective volunteers. How do we start a site group if you're interested? So firstly, it requires 6 or more IEEE members, and non-IEEE members are welcome to come together to form the critical mass. And this is really the first step. The second step is to really understand what local needs that this group wants to serve, what are the skills that this group has, and what partnerships this group can build. And really write a petition and then send it back to us. So if we put it in steps, it's about thinking what you as a group wants to do, depending on the critical mass that you've gathered, 6 or more IEEE volunteers, build local partnerships, understand what you want to do, focus on the problems rather than the ideas, and then sign a petition and then send it to us. So how to write a successful petition? It's important to focus on a community's problem or an opportunity than an idea. So we really believe in problem first and solution next approach. And it's important to plan for unintended consequences. So a site group needs a sponsor, And a sponsor's approval is required in case of society by the society president, in case of section by the section chair, council by the council president, region, chapter. For university-based sites, we need to have a faculty lead. So this is how you start site, and if you have more questions, here are links. And have you met Holly Schneider-Brown? She is the staff lead for the site program, and please get in touch with her if you have any questions or need any help. And what we'll do now is that we will have a presentation by Mei Lin from People-Centered Internet to talk about what opportunities exist for we as site groups and site volunteers to contribute to the internet inclusion efforts. We strongly encourage participants to engage in local efforts that contribute to the internet inclusion. We'll hear more from Mei Lin. Thank you.